Damn these Biloxi blues, it happens every night.
Every night.
And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. Summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time.
Sweet.
This highway does not know my name, and I don't care. No, I don't care.
What's up, everybody?
Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare.
Right to the hook right here.
Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low budget live. Absolutely. Actually live. The most live we've been in a minute. And this is the podcast for August the 26th. You bunch of dadgum low lifers. It's good to see y'all. 83,000 already. 83,000. It's just crazy. Crazy. You're always killing it, brother. Keep up the good work. Jeremy Pruitt, like coach of the Tennessee Vols. Jeremy Pruitt, thank you so much. What's up, everybody? This comment right here. Kevin Van Yoder says you're going to look super skinny next to Mercer on live. Tuned in, just lost some IQ points. Well, you know. I am actually, listen, welcome, low-lifers, one and all. Even if you're Stephen Caldwell, he just lost IQ points for tuning in, he says, but he's here. He's here anyways. I am not drinking anything alcoholic, so this is, I'm going to tell him myself, this is actually like a seltzer water right here. So I have been, I've been off the booze for a couple weeks. Been off the booze and drying out a little bit. After we got back from Mexico, me and the Triple Threat, we did that episode a couple weeks ago. I've not had a drink. I've not had a drink in a couple weeks, and I'm good. I'm good with it. I haven't. You know, I partake here and there. California's sober. You know, I like my gummies. Talk about that on here. Help me sleep at night. But yeah, I hadn't had any Tito's. Kevin Van Yoder, when are the Southern Boating underwear and socks coming out? Very soon. Very soon. Listen, y'all get on southernboatingsupply.com, use code LBL10, and there'll be some underwears on there for you soon if Kevin Van Yoder has anything to do with it. Appreciate y'all. 118,000. We're cooking. We've got a guest that'll be on here in just a little bit with us. I teased it today that it is a Canadian, that we will have a Canadian joining us here live via the interwebs, and my internet's actually working. We pray that it keeps on going on. What's up, Reed? Lots of Miller Lite tonight. You need to try a dope rope. It's a CBD nerd rope. Let's just say I have. I have indeed tried that. Luke, we hate quitters. I'm not quitting forever. I just had to have a break, man. I'll just tell this on myself a little bit. When I was in Mexico, I was waking up in the morning, starting my day with a vodka orange juice. Okay. And I'm talking about like before 9. Okay. With breakfast. And I was drinking all day. Cause you're supposed to do that on vacation, I think. And, yeah, I did that pretty much all day, every day. And then literally got back home, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a little bit of time, a little time out for myself. So I've done that. And, y'all killing me in the comments already. I apologize if you're not watching this live. If you're listening to this after the fact, and so many of y'all do, I do get distracted by comments because I enjoy doing lives and interacting with everybody in the comments. And my ADD, man, squirrel. So I apologize because sometimes they really make me laugh, and y'all are getting me tonight. Fred Ashcraft said I done went straight to y'all sweet tea. I do drink me some y'all sweet tea. I love that peach sweet tea. Probably not as much as Uncle Si does because he don't pay me what he pays Uncle Si, stupid dumb Darian. But I do indeed like me some y'all sweet tea. Luke, you going to do the fat ass challenge? I am right now. I hadn't really advertised that. Fred, that's a good callback. We did the fat ass challenge, me and my buddy Big C, before the 2020 Classic. And I'm kind of just having a fat ass challenge with myself right now. I want to lose some weight. I'm running a little hot right now, to say the very least. So we're trying. I'm on like week 2 of trying, Fred. So that's where we at. Why do we park in driveways and driving parkways? Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop with all y'all's craziness. So appreciate y'all tuning in for live this week. I was going to record yesterday with this guest, and I decided, let's do a live. I've seen some requests for an LBL actually live. I know I promised one after I got back from my trip with the Triple Threat. We ended up just recording that 7th anniversary of the podcast and 10-year anniversary podcast. We decided to do that not so live, and so I'm back on here. This is not a Dunkin' Butts. We're going to have another Dunkin' Butts very soon. Josh and I have not been able to connect on when we can do another one. So me and old Joshy boy will get back together very soon and do a Dunkin' Butts part 3. I guess that would be Dunkin' Butts 3. So that will be very soon. That's definitely on the list. And I appreciate y'all asking about that. Get on the shot, sponsored by Ozempic. Dude, listen, Ozempics, like I know some folks on Ozempics, all right? And my only problem with it is you just kind of look like a zombie sometimes. And I'll double fist Ozempics right now. I am not scared to double fist. I don't even like shots that much. I will double inject. You tell me I drop like 30, 40 pounds, son. Pow, let's go. Because I'm so freaking busy all the time. I'm like, screw exercise. I like the quick route, that's for sure. Clay Williamson, Scott Martin is definitely in the Ozempic. Kind of got Ozempic face a little bit. Shout out Scott. I do know that Scott works out a hell of a lot too. He's a gym rat, but in the last couple of years, I know he's gotten really, really into working out. So maybe that's it. And but Ozempic face does come around. Olympics is starting to have some Ozempic is starting to have some Yeah, that's what scares me about taking something like that is what happens like down the road. Like you might lose 30 pounds. You also might grow a fourth third and fourth leg. I said fourth leg. I'm out of it today. Scott works out every day. Yeah, Scott does work out, man. Scott does work out. That's for sure. Thank y'all for tuning in. Real quick, let me run through these sponsors. Southern Boating Supply, obviously, that's my company. I wish I could show y'all this already. I've got a part that I came up with that I got the first prototypes on my hands last Friday, and it's a trolling motor part, trolling motor accessory, I should say. And dude, I am so freaking ready to turn it loose, but got a little bit more testing. I want to make sure it's right. It's damn near perfect the way I wanted it to be, but got to fine tune a couple things. But damn, I'm really excited about it. But I'm ready to release the hounds. I got several new products that we're fixing to turn loose to the public. But southernboatingsupply.com, got hook havens on there, and apparel is all we've got on the website right now. And you can use code LBL10 there to do that thing and get you a discount. Appreciate y'all for sure on that. Fishtips.com, you can use code LBL10 at Fish Tips to get your first fish tip at a discount right there. Just the tip with Fish Tips. You don't have to go on a guide trip, but guides provide information on there. You can purchase and figure out how to unlock the secrets on the lake you want to go to. Gillfishing.com for, I think it's LBL gift right now. If you spend $75, you get a UV Tech sun hat for just just a few more days on that. It runs out at the end of August. LBL gift there. ProGuideBatteries.com. The code is LBL10. If you need some batteries, I get questions in the comments every week about what my ProGuide batteries code is. And I'm like, damn it, you gotta listen to that. So ProGuideBatteries.com, LBL10 there. Bait-WRX.com, bait-works, Duncan-10 is the code there. That's where you get this little fella, the LOB jig. which does get some freaking bites. That is for sure. And last but not least, hang the banner. There's not a banner tonight because we're doing this digitally and I don't know how to add it. So Express Boats, building excitement since 1966. Got to spend some time in the Express Friday and Saturday, which is always good. I fished a tournament with my kid brother, Blake, my little brother. Y'all have heard me talk about these tournaments in the past. It's a bass club and they fish kind of little small lakes. And there was one close to the house that they fished. It was just terrible. Like, it's terrible. If you caught a 12-incher, like you were doing something, there's so many like 10 and 11 inches in it. Well, they got this club, really good dudes that run it, a lot of good dudes that fish it, a couple not so good dudes that might cheat anyways. But they ran them out of the little lake we used to do it. And it was an idle only lake, dude. It'd be a complete and total show. Okay. Like 40 boats throwing over everybody's lines, a real small lake, right? So they moved to a state park lake here in Tennessee. It's like an hour and a half from my house. And I'd never been on it until last November. I fished a tournament there with Ryder, my youngest son, and got a letter from the guy. They were doing one this past Saturday. So me and Blake Duncan got after it and we got our ass kicked. I mean, we got freaking hammered, son. Not by big weight or anything, because we didn't win any money. And but it's the dang the crazy thing about this lake. It has an 18 to 25 inch slot limit that you're not allowed to keep fish, and we don't ever really catch good ones out of it. The couple times that I have been there, and I caught like a 4.5 that we couldn't weigh in. I'm like, of course, today. But me and my brother, we had a really dang good time. We'd not fished a tournament together in a long time, and we had a lot of fun. But definitely got our teeth kicked in. He hadn't been on this lake but one time ever. I'd been on it, I think twice. And anyways, but we had a lot of fun, man. Burning the banks, doing some live scoping, doing all kind of different things. Something that I wanted to talk about tonight, before we get to our guest, that'll be supposed to join us here in about 15 minutes or so. Last week I recorded the show. I talked about the fact that I was going to do it early, so no more drama happened, was my joke last week. And I recorded in the morning, and I went back in the house and turned on Fox, and Zona was signing off for the last time. And man, it got me, dude. And then I hated all week that I didn't get to talk about it on the show. And I made a post about it, but Mark Zona, what he did in 20 years of broadcasting bass fishing, I don't think most people realize how much he did. Like, I just don't. Like, teaching people that you can be yourself, you can be goofy, you can be a fishing nerd, because he's obsessed with fishing. But everything that he brought to the table in 20 years, like, and Mark, I consider Mark a great friend. He's a brother of mine, and he's a mentor and a hero of mine. And I'm fortunate to know him and love him like family, man. And we've been through hell and high water together a couple times, and he's a good man. He's a really good man. His wife, Karen, they're good damn people, period, end of story. And I text him this week. We were going back and forth, and like, this whole thing, my place in the fishing industry, however small it is, like, wouldn't be possible if Mark Zona didn't exist. It just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be at all. Like, it would not exist if Mark didn't exist and put in the work that he did for so many years. So huge thank you to Z. I know he's been, he's cut way back on the days of live he was doing for several years. And I think that, knowing him personally, like, I felt like this day was coming. I did not know that this was going to be the year. I did feel like, he missed a good many this year. I feel like he did a lot less days this year, and I felt like it could be coming. but at any point, but totally caught me off guard seeing Tommy Sanders, who is the other goat. They're both goats, but seeing Tommy emotional, they have such a great working relationship. They have a relationship outside of work as well. That's fantastic. But those two dudes just absolutely changed everything. And Tommy with Jerry McInnes, I talk a ton about this, but when they covered FLW on ESPN, that was something that really just changed my life and probably my life's direction, to be honest. Like, I obsessed so much. Now, I loved the old Bassmasters with Bob Cobb on TNN, but when they changed the way bass fishing coverage went down, and Tommy was the co-host with Jerry McInnes, like, changed everything. And then you fast forward when they switch over to bass and they bring in Zona. Holy crap, man. Everything changed. But just think about like what people call bass, like a slaunch. Like, he's the first person I ever heard say that, period, in the story. He just was. But think about all the stuff that he came up with just at random. He's a goofball that just gets it. I mean, just gets it, man. And nobody is going to fill those shoes. Nobody. And it's an unenviable position for somebody because he just had his own style, and you can't make it up when it just like naturally happens like it does for Z. And again, I just want to thank him for everything he did in 20 freaking years, man. Just it is going to be very strange not having him around as far as tournament fishing goes. He's still going to do a show. Show's freaking awesome, man. I got so many favorite Zona shows that I like to go back and dig through and watch. And I love, and y'all can comment if you've ever seen the one with Jeff Crete years ago when they went to like Falcon Lake and they put on put on luchador mask and they wrestled, like they were like physically wrestling each other. Like, there's only one freaking Mark Zona, man. And I know like Crete's not that big of a goofball, and like he probably had to talk Crete into that, and it was just beautiful. Like, but him and Aaron Martin's relationship was always so special on camera, and I don't know, man. It's amazing. So we will miss Z. Derek's like, Bass call you yet for an interview? I've seen that. Listen, I don't take it lightly that people like me enough to make those kind of comments. I've been tagged in several of those on social since that announcement came out. I'm not going to get that gig. I'm good where I'm at. I love the folks at Bass, but and I know some of y'all say that joking, some of you say it serious. I wouldn't want to try to fill his shoes because they can't be filled, man. It's whoever comes in is going to be really under a microscope, dude. And that's how I felt going into filling in Robbie Floyd's shoes for the Alabama Bass Trail, man. Like, he is such an industry pro at that for 10 years, was the guy. And my only thing was just to try to do me, just try to bring whatever it is that I bring and have fun doing it. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't scared to death at the first ABT this year to be the new voice of the Alabama Bass Trail. So I can't even imagine walking into the Bassmaster studio, who's got to sit in that Zona seat. And for me, I feel like it, Davey Height does a good job. I feel like Davey brings a lot to it. And I really feel like it would just be Davey. Like, they've been kind of working that up. I don't know how many more years Tommy has left there. I don't feel like it's a lot. I feel like he'll retire at some point. Tommy's been after it for a long time. And I think Ronnie Moore will ultimately take over for Tommy in that seat. And, I think it's just going to look different, but, that JM and Associates crew that produces that, they're the best in the damn business. They get it, and the show will go on, but without Z, he's going to be very, very different. And when Tommy steps away, it'll be very different as well. Duncan, Dave, and Davey show. I don't know that you got to Clint Bartlett. I don't think you got to worry about that. I don't think you got to worry about that. I don't think Dave wants to do a Luke and Davey show. I don't think. That's for sure. Lots of negativity in fishing. Y'all see that all the time. Craziness going on, all the bitching about forward facing sonar and all the things. I've got to acknowledge something awesome that happened. And Easton Fothergill is the truth. Okay. He's the truth. This young man, I had him on last year. He had an emergency brain surgery right before he ended up winning the college national championship that sent him to the Bassmaster Classic last year. Talking to a lot of veteran pros that have been around that young man, they've said, you know, he is the truth. This kid is going to be, doesn't matter what it is, forward facing, fishing in 6 inches of water, or whatever the case is, like this dude is the next thing. Now he just won his second Bassmaster Open on Leech Lake, which is his home lake, after winning out there in Oklahoma at good old Stingy Eufaula. So he's won 2 Opens. And what that did was sent the guy on the bubble in the Elite Series to the Bassmaster Classic. And that guy is Carl Jocumsen. And he is one of the best human beings to ever take a breath in the sport of bass fishing. And he's going to the Classic again, man. He's going to the Classic. So congrats to Carl. I shot him a text. I actually got to talk to Carl on some stuff last week, and he was telling me all the scenarios that kind of had to play out for him to get in, but he was the bubble boy, and he got in because of Easton. So, Carl, mate, I hope you're gonna have to buy Mr. Easton Fothergill a steak or two. I think, buddy, that's for sure. But incredible. In that case, he's leading the points and the EQs. He's going to be on the elites next year. He's going to be a massive problem on the elites. So if you're not keeping up with the EQs, you need to go look up that kid. He's something, man. And I know a lot of the young dudes get a lot of crap thrown their way, and some of it rightfully so, obviously, for things they do. But that kid is doing things the right way. Great family support system behind him. But I mean, listen, brain surgery this time last year that could have ended his life. Like, go back and listen to that episode. I had him on the show last year, but unbelievable story. And now he's a 2-time Bassmaster champion in his first year fishing the Opens. The kid is something. Kevin Van Yoder. Let's see right here. All the negativity is pushing viewers out of the sport. Watch golf this weekend. It's so refreshing watching something where it's just wins and loses and who's better than who. You know, I don't disagree with you. That last St. Lawrence event was a lot. It was a lot. And I hated that all the drama certainly felt like at times it outweighed how awesome that event was. You know, I recorded before Corey won, and I know I discussed all those situations last week at that event, but like what Corey did out there in those waves, throwing his guts up, can't be overlooked by the drama that happened, because he earned that trophy. He did. Like, he earned the trophy. I know that Rob and Chris had the incident on the spot and all that, and we're going to talk about that tonight. I actually talked to Rob today about that, as a matter of fact. And did it cost Rob the win? We don't know. Probably didn't help him any. But I feel like what you said there, Kevin Van Yoder, there is so much negativity. I saw a lot of comments about people like, man, this is becoming so much like a soap opera that I'm not enjoying keeping up with it near as much, with the DQs, all the craziness. So I think that is I think that's something to take into consideration. And look, as y'all will know, I'll report about the dramatics. I have done that time and time again. But why I started this show in the first place was for the stories of the anglers, of people that I want to talk to. And then it became about the low lifers to me, y'all's stories, interacting with y'all. And it's been a really fun ride, man. Can you really earn a trophy when you send your brother to fish on top of the leader? Do you know that, Brandon? Do you know that he sent his brother? Like, I think that's a like, I don't think that's a statement that you can make, but we'll ask here in just a minute. we will ask, because Chris Johnston is going to join us. Fingers crossed. He's supposed to be. He had a kid with a ball game. He just texted me. All good. He says it might be a couple minutes late, getting on the last youngin in bed now. So 261,000 here on Low Budget Live right now. And we are waiting on that Canadian, and we can ask him. We can ask him questions. I want to say this before Chris joins us. Chris reached out to me last week, which I respect a lot. And I said last week on the show, I've known both of them boys a very long time. They are aggressive on the water. They're also unbelievable fishermen. I think what I hate the most out of this situation is Chris didn't win Angler of the Year because of one event. They have 9 event season, right? And unfortunately, that drama, and this is what I told Chris, that drama of that just one day overshadowed the fact that, dude, you got to catch them all damn year. He's had a second Angler of the Year before. Like, you've got to absolutely have to catch them all season long. Did all that happen? Did he catch 29 pounds right there where Rob was at? Absolutely. But I do know from talking to Rob G, Chris was there on day 2. Chris has fished that place multiple times. Now, he did go right to the goods where Robert was catching them. Trey McKinney was also in the area, and Chris made a bait change. But I think that I want to hear Chris's side of the story. I appreciate very much Chris again reaching out. He offered to do a podcast with me, and he's like, let's talk. I'd like to tell my side of it. And like I told him, I was like, dude, I don't want this to become some he said, she said back and forth thing. I want to talk about it. I want to move on. And I want to talk about AOY, because AOY is one of the, if not the hardest trophy to win, especially on the freaking Bassmaster Elite Series. And he won it. So we'll see. He'll be here soon, and we can talk to him. So I know these guys personally, fished FLW against them for many years. I also think that Corey, from what I've heard, has apologized to Rob for what he said on the Mercer video. Emotions got the best of him kind of deal. Look, man, and I said it last week, this kind of crap happens all day, every day, in every bass tournament, whether it's a BFL or the Bassmaster Elite Series. A lot of times, it's between the dude in 19th and the dude in like 60th, and you don't have a camera in the boat to see it. But there's a lot of that kind of crap that goes on. There's a lot of whole buzzard kind of situations that go on too, man. Like a lot of my friends that are out there, the stories that don't get told are kind of crazy about dudes rolling in on spots after they see. Talked to a good friend of mine today that was telling me a story from early in the season when they were actually at Lake Fork. And it was about, it was one of the rookies, and he was telling me a story. He's not the guy that I was talking to, is a veteran, but he said the rookie didn't catch crap the first day, saw him on a place. They talked. He said, I didn't feel like lying to the guy. I said, yeah, man, I got 20 blah, blah, blah pounds. And then the next day he got there and rookie's sitting there. And he said the rookie was going down the bank the first day. So, I mean, this kind of crap happens a lot, man. And I do think there's a certain level, and we're seeing it with like the JT Tompkins thing. A lot of the accusations that have happened this year with a lot of the rookies. I feel like there's such a crazy pressure now, especially growing up in a social media world, to perform, that you will absolutely do whatever it takes. A lot of people will. And I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that, man. We see it all. We saw it at BPT, dude snagging fish, breaking rule. Like, people will push the envelope to no end just to succeed. Like, I mean, just, it's sad. It's sad. And it is a reality. It is definitely a reality. Lots of comments. Are you the one person Mercer doesn't like? I don't know. Probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't probably. He doesn't like a lot of people, actually. From what I know about Dave. On the Zona thing, Jolie and the crowd. Oh my God. How could you forget that? They did a Bassmaster Live or a Zona Live on St. Clair. Yeah, I forget about that. And he crowned him the king fighting the sturgeon. Yeah, I forget about that. That's a fantastic, John. Thank you for that. That was a fantastic moment. Now, when I get finished with low budget tonight, I've got to, I've got to go watch that again. Incredible. Ben, that's a good point. I would be embarrassed if some of my on the water interactions were recorded. Oh, buddy, have I had some? Have I had some over the years? Yeah. And I think that goes without saying. It's like the Chris Aldane thing from earlier this year, cussing the local and having the back and forth. I think it goes without saying that if any of our interactions were recorded and put out for the public a lot of the times, and I'm somebody that lives on camera a lot, but we would probably be embarrassed a lot in life, if things actually like get away from you, because everything is recorded for the most part now and has that ability to get out. So that's a great point, Ben. Such a great point that, such a, I don't know. I think about sometimes just interactions with my kids or work or whatever, that you wouldn't want the public to see, right? Like you're a jerk. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You say some stupid stuff. That can happen. That is for sure. What's up, Darren Gallagher from Chickamauga? What's up, big guy? Hadn't seen you in a minute since the Classic, probably. Hope you're doing well. Anyone brought up Hallman's name for the Zona job? I think he's a diamond in the rough with lots of potential. That is that's a really good tip of the hat right there. I've worked with Hallman at MPFL several times, and Bradley is a pro. He's freaking great at it, man. I'll be honest, I'm worried about my bud Brad. I hadn't talked to Bradley. I need to call Brad since he got off the elites. I haven't, not many folks that I know have talked to Brad, and such a damn good dude, man. But he is fantastic at live coverage. That is for sure. So which organization is canning forward-facing sonar? A lot of talk out there, a lot of chatter that there are going to be some changes, man. Some changes. I don't think bass. I don't think you'll see it there. I have, and again, this is like rumorville. I've heard there will be some things at BPT, maybe some changes, and their format sets up for a change because they have the periods and things. I heard this week BFL and Toyota banning it. Who knows? We'll see. There's some changes coming. There's definitely some changes coming, and I think when the dust settles, everything will be different in 25, depending on which trail you're at. But there'll be limitations. You're going to see bans. You're going to see new rules, variations on things, changes to the game again. But I think a lot of things are going to change. That is for sure. 313,000 on a Monday night. Damn, y'all showing up and showing out. That is for sure. I'm trying to keep up with these comments. JMFW taking Zona's spot. Listen, he can't quit selling them damn t-shirts long enough. he ain't gonna do that. I've worked with Watson on MPFL as well, and he is fan freaking tastic on live. Speaking of MPFL, we got one this week. Start live coverage on Friday. Me and Fat Cat Friday and Saturday from Saginaw Bay. Y'all tune in. Show up, show out. It'll be tnpfl.com where you can catch that. We'll be going live, I think, at like 7 a.m. Central, both Friday and Saturday morning. So y'all tune in. That'll be a fun one, man. They'll catch a lot of Saginaw's cool. They got a lot of largemouth up there in the reeds, a lot of swim jig fishing, a lot of flipping going on, and then you of course got the big smallies as well. So I think that'll be a good time right here. Terrell, I'm saying your name wrong, sir, and I apologize. I heard TNPFL, the National Professional Fishing League, was banning it. We'll see. I do think something will happen limitation-wise there. There'll be some changes. There's a lot of conversations going on. We'll see. We will see what happens, man. We live in wild-ass times. That's all I've got to say. Y'all know I don't like a ban. I think bans are too extreme. But I do enjoy my live scope. Like, I like using it. I feel like I use it too much. Sometimes I get caught up in it. And, I talked to an elite pro last week about it, and he said, man, the problem I have with it, he's like, I've gotten good with it. I get checks with it. But the problem I have is if you don't stare at it and not take your eyes off of it, you're missing fish and you're missing bites and potentially missing $10,000. So you don't see anything else going on around you. And I thought that was a really profound statement in that, because you're not taking things in. He's like, man, people try to talk to you on boat docks. Like, you're not talking to anyone. And I think that's, I think that was a pretty overwhelming statement for me. But I can't get down with, like, I want to say this. Clark Wendlandt is somebody that I've always looked up to. He's a hero of mine from back in the FLW days when I was a kid watching Clark. He won Angler of the Year. I had a Wheaties box with Clark Wendlandt on it on my dresser in high school. Okay. I just want to say that. I love Clark Wendlandt. He's a good man. I've known him a long time now. His letter, I disagreed with a lot of it from the standpoint of forward-facing sonar is easy, because it's not easy. If you can say, oh, it's just easy, you just plug it in and you throw your little jig head man and you catch them, that is not true, dude. And if you've used it, that's not the case. It's not easy. So I don't like that take. If you want to argue that we don't know what it's going to be like for fisheries down the road because we're attacking these fish from every angle all the time, or creel limits on crappie or catfish, even whatever the case is, like that thing needs to change because people are utilizing it, like all the things, like I can get down with some of that. But when you're like, it's too easy, forward facing sonar is not easy. It's not easy at all. Like I don't think it is. And I don't think our guest tonight would say it was dang easy either. And we're going to get him on here. He just popped up. This man right here, he just went over the $1 million mark, and he's basically a baby. Like he's young. He just went over the $1 million mark. How? Oh yeah. He won Angler of the Year in the Bassmaster Elite Series. And as I said earlier, reached out to me on some of the things that went on. He wanted to come on here. I respect the hell out of the guy for wanting to talk to me. I've known him for a lot of years, obviously a very good fisherman. And ladies and gentlemen, from, I'm assuming, across the border, we're going to bring him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Johnston.
How are you, Luke?
I'm good, man.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Right into the frying pan here tonight with all these low lifers. We've got a crowd. I see them chirping over here in the comments. So I appreciate you, dude. I talked to my wife actually when you reached out to me, and I was telling her about us talking a little bit, and she said, I have so much respect for somebody that will say, hey, can we talk about this publicly on a podcast? You know what I mean, dude? Because look, and I told you, I said, hey, I thought the day 3 thing, I didn't like it, but I don't know the story. You said you've got the whole, like, hey, I want to tell my side of it.
Just tell how it is.
Yeah. We'll get there. But my thing is, I did think that it was unfair. I will say the amount of overall crap that you guys did get from a lot of people, because like I told you, and I want this show to be about this tonight, winning Angler of the Year is no small feat. And it wasn't decided just because of the St. Lawrence River. Obviously, that's the final event. That's where you won. But, dude, you caught their ass for 9 tournaments this year in the Bassmaster freaking Elite Series against that crew. So congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Winning Angler of the Year. And now we can get into the other stuff and we can move on. So, because I know that's why all these folks are in here. They're wanting to hear. So day 3, the Rob G thing. Tell us, like, and
you're getting right to it.
Dude, we'll just start with it and move on. That's what I told you. I'm like, this should be more about Angler of the Year. But I know you were there day 2, and I know you have a lot of experience on the St. Lawrence and Ontario as a whole and in that area. Yeah. But let's just talk about that so everybody foaming at the mouth can can get on with it.
Yeah, and first of all, I have no issues with Rob G. He's obviously a great fisherman, and he's bound to win a bunch of tournaments if he keeps going at
no doubt
the same rate, right? So I guess I'll have to back up a little bit, and just the St. Lawrence River. I feel like there is more pressure on me for that tournament to win than I feel like going into the Bassmaster Classic. If it was in the top 5, I feel like there is more pressure. Everyone expects me to win there, and everyone thinks, oh, you just go out there and you go float around and catch 27 pounds. They jump in the boat, and it's not the case. And it gets harder every year. And especially with Bassmaster Live, it makes, we've talked to them many times, a lot of the anglers, and it's like, stop putting people on the map. It doesn't
the
need to be
locations.
that.
Yeah, the locations.
Like the locations, it's not necessary. Everyone has forward facing sonar now. It's getting too easy to figure out where anglers are fishing, and those GPS where they put you on a map is right where you are.
No doubt.
So someone go out there and be like, oh, there's the fish, and let's try and catch him. So so it's getting harder out there, and the fish are getting smarter. So I'll just take you through the whole tournament. My practice, we had 2 days of practice, and everyone knows the fish are the biggest in the lake. So I practiced for a day and a half in the lake, and I did a day or maybe 3 or 4 hours in the river, because looking at the forecast, you always have to look at the forecast when you're fishing Lake Ontario. If there's a small craft warning, going out of Waddington, where we're going out of, it's an hour and a half ride to the lake. So then if it takes you an hour and 40 minutes to get to your spot, you just can't physically do it. It's not that I'm too scared to go to the lake or catch big fish. You just can't do it. So I practiced in the river for a few hours for those wind days. And so in practice, I fished the river. I fished that spot where it all went down with G. I literally fished it for about 8 minutes. I caught a 4.5 on the break, and I caught like a 3.5 back behind the buoy. And actually, Jay Shakir was 200 yards back behind the buoy. I floated off. I talked to him. He's like, well, are they there? I'm like, yeah, I caught 2. And he's like, he laughed, and we just carried on. I don't think he went and fished it. But so obviously knew there was fish there. I went back later that night because no one was around. I dropped the camera down. There's hundreds of them. And to back up again, it is the best spot on the St. Lawrence River. I don't like talking about it. It's out of the bag now.
It is over now, I would say.
Yeah, it's over. But whether it's a local tournament on the Canadian side, a U.S. tournament, every tournament on the river is one on that spot. It's that good. And I wish they'd drop dynamite on it personally and just get rid of it. So you could
batteries
just
or
fish,
something.
just go fish elsewhere, and everyone competes. Because just like a lot of guys, I hate fishing around people. But when you go there every time, there's 4 or 5 boats, and you're going to be fishing around people. The guy that stays there for 8 hours probably going to get 5 big bites. So anyways, I do my thing. I find some good fish in the lake. That's where I want to fish the first 2 days. I go out there day 1, and it really didn't go how I wanted it to go. I could see the fish, and anyone that watched live, they just wouldn't bite for me. Those fish are getting so well educated out there. It's really incredible, but it's kind of discouraging to see at the same time. It used to be you go out there, you catch 30 bass, you'd weigh 27 pounds, you go through 4 to 6 pounders, and you'd have fun. It's not the case anymore. Now you're going for 7 or 8 bites, and hopefully you're on big ones. So it just didn't work. I could see them on my live scope. Caught one on a minnow out in like 35 feet, saw some other ones, ended up with 23 pounds. And I actually caught one. I stopped with about 4 minutes of fish in front of the ramp, and a spot I'd never fished before, dropped a jig down, caught one 3 3/4, called it a 3-pounder. That gave me 23 pounds. So it's like, holy smokes, this isn't good. And so day 2, I got to do something different. My lake fish, it wasn't happening. So I said to myself, I can go to the green can on Carlton Island on the break. And
you are just burning this down, by the way, now.
It's done. It's done.
It kind of makes me sad that it's done, and I've never even been there. But
yeah, and I drove by it on day 1 because I got gas. I was like one of the first boats out. I got gas, and I drove by it. There was like 4 boats on. I didn't know who anyways. But I'm like, I can go in the lake and compete with that spot. But you can't compete with it if it's river only. So I went out into the lake, didn't work. Day 2, I'm like, all right, I got a long day. I don't have to be until 4:30. I'm going to stop there, try and catch 2 or 3 big ones, and then I'll go out in the lake. If I have all day, I can get 2, 3, 5+ pounders in the lake on a normal day. So I do that, and as I pull up, G is got the bent rod. I'm like, oh man, he's already catching them. So I pull off to the side, and I'm watching him catch them. Like, I don't want to go over and fish beside him. I don't want to. I know that's where the fish are. But I'm just like, you know what? If I can catch 2, 3 over here, I have all day. I can go out in the lake. I can do my own thing, and I can still survive and compete. So it didn't work out very well. I lost a 6-pounder, and all of a sudden 2 hours goes by. I have 0 fish in my live well. And I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. So I'm like, I got to go out to the lake now on my big fish stuff where I caught 7 bites all day yesterday. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. So I go out to the lake and I'm fishing off Wolf Island, and I'm like, they're still here. They won't bite. So I made a big gamble. And I'm like, I said to my camera guy, Brian Evie, I'm like, I'm sorry for what is about to happen, but we're about to run to the ducks. It's 12 o'clock and I have to be back in Waddington at 4. So we got to go, and it's 4-footers. So we sent it to the main ducks, which people don't know. It's like 15 miles, but across 3 or 4 footers, it sucks.
It's like going across the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes. And people are like, oh, the big waves, they break your boat. No, big waves don't break your boat. 3 or 4 footers break your boat.
That's a fact.
The big rollers, they're like little cushions. You just go 8, 10 miles an hour. Well, when you think you can kind of go fast, that's when you break your boat. So we went out there, and it took me an hour and a half. I caught 20 pounds. I came back to the big fish spots. I caught 1 or 2 fours. Didn't work out. So after that day, I'm like, I got day 3 is rolling around. And everyone knew it was coming. It was coming all week in practice. You cannot get out to the lake. There is 30-mile-an-hour winds. So sitting back, I get to weigh in. I'm like 20 pounds, obviously disappointed. And my brother shockingly had, I don't even know, like 28 pounds. And he's fishing out in the lake, but he's fishing over by Amherst Island. And the 30-mile-an-hour winds is blowing into Amherst Island. And it's borderline unfishable, undoable because of the time frame to get there. So he's like, you can go over where I'm fishing. That's no problem. But I don't think I can catch them in those waves. And it's a huge gamble. I got Angler of the Year on the line, and I need to go where I know the biggest fish are and I can catch them. So I'm like, I can't go over there and gamble. You may get there and there's 8-footers. You can't get around the point to Amherst Island. And that's where I would go if it was calm. 100%. I would just go out in the lake and go fishing. But I'm like, I got to go where I know there's fish. And it has nothing to do with Robert G on the spot. So I wish he was in 47th place. That's the bad part. I'm like,
that's what I said last week. This kind of stuff happens a lot, but you don't see it because there aren't cameras in the boat, right?
Yeah. And
I mean,
it
does happen a lot.
I'm like, that's why in the morning, I'm like, this sucks, but I got to go where I know the fish are. And it's not because Robert G is fishing there or I'm trying to steal his hole. This is the same spot I won on 4 years ago. I've won many times, and it's not my spot anymore. Like I gave it up. I won my money off it, but that's just where I know the fish are. And there's normally 4 or 5 boats fishing this area. And when I fish it now in the past 3 years, you roll up, there's 3 or 4 boats. You can look at the picture of me fishing it in 2019 or whatever. There's 3 of us on it. There's no problems. So I roll up to the spot, and I got there later, and it's about 150-yard break. And G was in the middle of it. So I'm like, I'll go on the furthest right side. And it's about 100 feet away from him. So people are like, oh, you pulled up right on top of him. I pulled up as far away as I possibly could just to get on the edge of this break. And by the time the cameras get rolling, G, the current drifts you down towards where I am fishing. And he was 15, 20 feet away from me, which I would do the same thing if I was him. I would come right down to me and be like, hey, I'm going to try and fish where you are and not let you at any of the other part of the break. And we had a conversation, and I don't think I was trying to bully him or be rude. I'm just like, I just explained the situation, and I'm like, I got a fish here. This is where I won 2014. And I explained it to him, and everything was good. I thought he was good with it. He said, you know what? I can't argue that. And we just went to fishing, and he fished beside me, and we both caught him. We're not casting at each other because you have to cast straight in front of the boat. Mm-hmm. And we fished, we caught him, and he went up further up the break. I just stayed where I am. I said, listen, you do what you got to do. You fish the whole break. I'm just going to fish this little corner. And it's as like small a spot as I can fish without going on the break, and that's what I did. But then things kind of happened. I don't know. You guys probably know better than me watching live. Halfway through the day, I was catching fish, but the first one I caught in the day was 6, and the second one I caught was probably 5.5, and they were just big ones, right? And I wasn't doing anything different. I was throwing a minnow and catching these bigger fish, and he was catching them at the same time. I just happened to get some bigger bites, and I think I had like 4 over 5 and a 4.5. And around noon, I think I'm probably maybe 11:30. I caught my 5th big one, and then I just started. I wasn't even really fishing. I just threw different baits on, and I was messing with them, trying to see if they'd eat anything else. Because all of a sudden, in my mind, I'm like, I got my weight. I don't need to catch anymore. Let's see if I can figure out a stupid bait that these things haven't seen. Because guess what? Day 4 is coming. I'm gonna have a chance at this thing. And I'm
yeah,
like,
with 29, you were right back in that.
yeah, I have a chance at winning this. And
yeah.
That's what people don't understand. Every time I fish a tournament, especially in the St. Lawrence, I'm going to win it. And I do not like fishing beside people, and I did not like fishing beside G, but that's the spot that I'm going to fish, whether G's in the tournament, out of the tournament, 47th. And unfortunately, it just happened this time, he was in first. Like, every tournament is won on this spot. Like, and there's normally 4 or 5 people fishing it. And he said it's a community hole, and he is right now. It's a community hole. So anyways, and then I think he got a little kind of pissy when he came up back up. He's like, hey, what time do you think we need to run back? Like, and I talked to him earlier. I'm like, oh, an hour and a half is plenty of time. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll run back together. I'm like, yeah, no problem. In case anyone breaks down, it's a long run, whatever. We both got fish. But I think he thought I was just kept catching the fish, and he got a little pissy when he's like, you got 27? I'm like, yeah, I got 27. And I think that's when he got a little pissy. And then he went and told other people to come fish the break. And
so that happened after you already had your bag then. I didn't see any of that. I saw it in comments, and I heard about it, that he went and got Trey or something. But Trey McKinney was fishing close too, right?
He was fishing close. And I was fishing only 100 feet away on day 2. And I'm just, honestly, I hate to say it, but too nice. And people got on me on my phone after, like, why are you so nice and not fishing where you should have? I'm like, I just hate fishing around people. And I'm like, I can get it done out on the lake if I can get 2 or 3. So I didn't want to do it on day 2. But day 3, I didn't have a choice when it comes to when people are like, oh, go fish other community holes or other spots. I don't think they understand how good this spot is. Like, if you look back, for example, the Toyota Series that just happened. There was 200 boats that fished that Toyota Series on the St. Lawrence River. They had 7 days to practice, 5 days, whatever they did. Our top 3 weights off that spot, no one even came close to them fishing the whole river. That's how good it is. And I know that. So how do I not fish that when there's 300 of them down there? And it's not, everyone's like, you pulled up on this. It's not a 1-cast spot. It's a 150-yard break.
It's a ledge, yeah.
Yeah, it's on an edge. And you're not casting down the edge. You're casting at the edge and bringing your bait over it. So it's not like you need to cast 100 yards down it. So it's a multiple boat spot. And unfortunately, that's what it is. And it's happened to me many times. People pull up and fish beside you, and you got to deal with it on that spot. Like I said, that's why I want to blow it up. And this is before the tournament even started, because you will have company there every time you fish there now.
I actually had it in my notes to ask, and you addressed it already. How big of a problem? Like, I know everybody's like, oh, the Johnsons are choked up on the bat because they're going to the St. Lawrence over and over and over. And you've already discussed this, but it's got to be a huge issue. They come to your home pond all the time with live, right? Like, everything that you guys have worked for many, many, many years has now been made very public.
Yeah. And for example, where I almost won it last year, we put it on live, and within a month I went back out to that area. No one fished it in the elites. Some locals fished it. I went back out there a month later. You couldn't even get a fish to bite over there because they've had so much pressure. And that was over like Prince Edward County, a long ways away from everyone. And Walters fished it too. And unfortunately, that spot got ruined because of live. And it is what it is. And I lose stuff every year, but this spot is so good. And I absolutely hate the spot now. But there's buddies of mine that we fish river tournaments, and they make them river only, and we're like halfway down the river, and it's like, okay, it's river only, and they don't want to fish the tournaments anymore because they know they have to go to that spot to win the tournament. And we all joke about it, like, let's blow the spot up so we can just go fish elsewhere. It is what it is. Like,
there are places like that. I mean, I live on the Tennessee River. There are many places, as you know, that are like that on the Tennessee River that were kind of sneaky, and then live happened, or somebody won a big local event and it gets blown up, and so people just hammer down. Like,
and the nice thing about the Tennessee River is there's probably 10 of those spots that have 25 to 30 pounds, whatever, on them. There's nowhere that can even come close on this spot.
Well, that's what I was texting with Rob after it, and he said, man, he was disappointed he didn't get the win. He had a couple close calls this year, but he's like, more than anything, I was just pissed that I caught 100 pounds in the river, and I don't know that anybody's done that in 4 days. Essentially, you know what I mean? Like that century melt from the quote unquote river. You know?
And he did a great job. And people were like, oh, why didn't you lay off it on day 4? And this really bothers me, actually. People are like, oh, you're defending your brother. And people, I don't know where people come up with this story, but I have been in the top 10 every time we've gone to the St. Lawrence. He has been in it every time, I think, except the first time when he broke down.
He broke down the one time.
He broke down. Never has it come up that, oh, they're trying to defend each other, go fish around other anglers. No, it's just this year happened that I was fished there day 2, 3, and 4. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to catch G's fish so Corey can win, which is so far from the truth. People just cook that story up and they run with it, and that blows my mind.
I saw somebody in the comments say this. I feel like social media might have been more upset than Robert G actually was, right? Because it probably was, because I've texted, I know Rob, I know you, I've texted both of you guys, and like, I don't feel like it was as tense between you guys out there as everybody wants it to be.
No, and it just gets blown out of proportion. I talked to Robert after the weigh-in. Great job. He wasn't mad. Like, we're not ready to go throw fisticuffs in the parking lot.
Now wait, though, Corey's ready to fight all the time.
That threw gas on a fire. That I'm like, oh my God.
Chris, like, let's be honest. That's what Corey does. Corey is gas on a fire for people that don't know Corey.
Always has been. And it makes it another thing that blows my mind. Half the people complaining, or a third of them, they don't even know the difference between who Corey is and I am.
Dude, I saw that too. Yeah.
I'm like, people are complaining. They don't even know who I am. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I did see that. I saw so many people that are just like all caps typing about what a piece of garbage you were for threatening Robert G's life.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're like, I'm bullying Robert G. I'm like, at what point did I bully him? I had a conversation. We chatted on the water. We fished together. And the only time that something happened and I didn't get mad, I didn't say a thing about it, was when he happened to invite 2 other people to come fish the community break, where he said, oh, come fish them over here. There's lots of fish. Chris is catching them. And then one of his buddies came over, and I think it was John Garrett. And I talked to him at the weigh, and he's like, hey, just so you know, I was going to come fish the break because G said, oh, come over fish because there's lots of fish. And then I get there and he's like, no, you got to go fish right on Chris, though, not the whole break. And he's like, just to let you know, I would never do that. I didn't want to. And he's like, I don't really know what happened there. But he's like, that's when he left. And I'm like, why would he say that? Like, we were good. We were fishing. There's plenty of fish for both of us. And so that was like, and then he went and told Trey to come fish on me too. And I tried to be as courteous as I possibly could. And I talked to him. He's like, I'm going to stay right here. You can have the whole break. And he's like, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And then day 4 comes, and I guess people think I was trying to protect Corey to go win the tournament.
You don't even like Corey. Let's be honest.
There's times I do not. And I'm like, I want to beat Corey just as bad as Robert G wants to beat Corey.
I was going to say, I know you guys well enough to know that rivalry runs deep.
Yeah.
Deeper than people, especially on the St. Lawrence. Like,
yeah,
I mean, you're proud of your brother to win, but you want to win.
What people don't realize as well is Corey is running, I don't even know how many hours, 3 hours to get to where he's going to fish. And he doesn't, like, I talked to him. Obviously, he doesn't know if he can catch a limit of bass where he's going. Like, he is all out gambling. And guess what? If he doesn't win, it's between probably McKinney, myself, and G, all off one spot. I'm not trying to protect Corey. I'm trying to win the tournament.
Dude, and I want to say this about your brother, and I said this before you came on. I recorded last week, talked about the situation, and I actually joked. I said, I'm going to record early before anything else happened because you had Clun retired, you had all this, you had the JT Tompkins DQ. I said, hey, I'm going to record because this is going to be a 3-hour show. If anything else happens, well, then Zona retired after I recorded. Then Corey wins. And somebody in the comments just said, in the Bering Sea, that's what it looked like. Like, he earned, I was talking to Justin Atkins about this today, as a matter of fact. He's like, that boy earned that blue trophy. He's like, regardless of anything else, like him fishing, he throws up on live. Like, I mean, he earned.
It's nasty.
No, that was ridiculous.
And the camera does not do rough water justice. If it looks semi-bad on the camera, you might as well double it. I've been out there, and I look at the camera footage after the event. I'm like, it doesn't even look rough. But there was legitimate 8-footers out there.
No doubt about it.
And trying to use live scope now, which is how you have to catch these fish in 8-footers, it's terrible. It's not easy to do.
I can't imagine. I you know, you were talking about how many times they've been there and live. You know, Justin Atkins has had a couple really good tournaments up there as well. He kind of, you know, came up and figured some things out. And he's like, dude, you can't, he told me today, he's like, you can't even get bit in those places. He finished second to Taku. He's like, bro, you can forget it. Like, you can absolutely forget it.
And that's exactly what we said about Prince Edward County, where we fished last year and Walters fished. Went there on day one. There's a couple fish there, but they won't even, if they see your drop shot go down, they swim the other way. It's mind blowing how quick these fish are learning. And people are like, oh, you've got some sneaky spot left. I'm like, no, I'm tapped out. Like, I have fished every corner of the lake from Henderson Harbor to Canada, and live has shown everything because I've had a camera on me 4 days for 5 years. Like, I got no tricks left in the bag.
So you don't think you have anything sneaky? Like, if they go back next year, the Johnson boys don't have anything sneaky?
I'm probably going to blow up that Carlton Island green buoy spot just out of spite so I don't have to fish it because of all the drama it's caused. But after that, I don't think I have anything sneaky. And the one thing that Corey and I figured out, because we do talk, and like a lot of other people do in practice, was the minnow deal on the deep fish on the lake. That was kind of to stay one step ahead of everyone. It's out of the bag now anyways, but the deeper fish would not eat a drop shot. You might get 1, maybe 2, but if you threw a minnow at them in the deeper water, like 30, 40 feet, you could get the bigger fish out of the schools. And where he was fishing, there was 30, 40 bass sometimes in a school, and you could get those bigger ones to eat. So that was kind of the advantage this year. It wasn't necessarily the spot, it was the minnow deal. And he weighed probably 95% of his fish on it, but I don't even know how he did it. He had to change it up a little bit in the wind to catch a few, but trying to live scope that minnow in 8-footers.
I don't want any part of that. For $100,000, I don't care.
And that's why you get seasick. And I've never been seasick in a boat, but when I won a few years ago, I was doing it in big waves. And when you're staring at a screen, looking at your feet, it hits you. I'm like, holy smokes, this isn't good. And at that point, I actually turned to my camera guy and I'm like, you feeling okay? And he was like white as a ghost. I'm like, he's like, no, not good. I'm like, if you need to get sick, just chum over the side. He's like, I already did 5 times. I'm like, oh man,
that's a pro.
I felt bad for him.
If he can hold the camera and puke and nobody and you not know it, then that's a pro move. I can't imagine looking through the viewfinder though with the boat
he was a champ about it. He didn't complain once. But so
was that the worst you've ever seen? Like, like 8 foot, like what's the worst? Because I remember you guys running those Rangers. What were the D? Those
522 Ds. They were the Cadillac of boats. Like,
I remember that.
The rough water boat, it was the best. You could do, if a bass boat could do 8 to 10 miles an hour, you'd be doing 20 through it and not pounding at all. It was just a hybrid walleye boat. It was I
remember that. Well, but what's the worst you've ever seen, do you think? Like that you guys have fished in? Probably
like 9-10 footers once. I was on the main dock. And there's no way we went out to Kingston. There's no way the tournament director should have let us go. And when you're going into waves and when you're going up, and you can't get over the wave, and your boat comes back down and the whole motor gets submerged and starts
Oh my
bogging.
God.
It was just miserable. Made it out there, but then running back, you could do troughs, but literally all you can see is water. And it's just like, what am I doing? And I ended up catching 17 pounds on the main ducks, but I'm fishing and I can't tell if I got a bite because there's so much of a bend in my rod from wind. So
Jeez.
that was just silly. But
I felt like it was pretty silly
in,
where Corey was at, though, dude. I'm gonna be honest.
What he was in, it was bad. Like there was, I think, sustained 30-mile-an-hour winds, and he was right at the right where it was blowing into. So I'll give him credit for winning it, but like people think I was trying to protect his fish. I was trying to beat him. And on day 4, and here's another thing about the river that people don't know. If you get east in the wind on the St. Lawrence River, it is the worst wind. It'll make the fishing, I don't care how good of a fish you got, it'll make the fishing terrible. You could have 300 fish. You get wind blowing against the current, and I'm sure it happens on the Tennessee River and stuff. It backs up the current.
Yep.
It messes it up. It makes it horrible. When
and
I
it makes
pulled
it
up,
really rough on the Tennessee. Like when it blows, it makes it impossible to fish a lot of places.
Yeah, and with the current, they don't bite, they don't set up. So when I pulled up to that spot on the Green Canyon, G was there as well. We caught a couple like 3 to 4 pounders, but there you weren't seeing the fish. I'm like, no, this isn't good. It's not that the fish got fished out. The current changed, and those fish left. And I moved around on the can. I think I caught a couple 4s. And to show you how I was wanting to win, I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, I got a legitimate chance at this if I can go get 2 6s somewhere. So I went out into the lake, like maybe 5 miles out, and I don't even know if it was on live, but I probably left that Green Can area for 2 hours on day 4. Cause I'm like, if I can catch 3 of these big ones on the spot where I went in the lake, they're hard to get to bite. And I didn't know if I could, but I gambled. I'm like, if I could get 3, you could get 28 pounds and you could win this thing. Unfortunately, I didn't get a bite. Typical. I couldn't get them to bite out in the lake. I fished it on day 2. I come back in, McKinney had left. I pulled up to the can area and G was moving all around trying to scramble up some fish. And he left, let's say, I don't even know. We had an hour and a half drive back, and I would say he left probably 2 hours. So I went back up to the break, and there was 2 or 3 boats watching me in the Toyota Series. And I was like, holy crap, they're here. There was probably 50 to 100 bass, and I had 20 minutes to fish, and I caught 3 or 4, and I was culling, and I was like, oh man, like I needed another half hour. That's it. It wasn't that the fish got fished out. The current was wrong in the morning. And if G had stayed, I guarantee he would have caught 4 or 5. They set back up on the break. They were there.
Moved back up on it.
They moved back up. I don't know if they showed my live scope, but there was probably 30 of them on it. You get 5 or 6 chasing your minnow, and it's not that the spot got too much pressure, just the current changed was all.
I even heard Zona say on live, where that's at in relation to a shipping channel. Those fish just funnel through there a ton.
100%. And it has to be, I've thought about it a lot. Every good spawning flat in that river, like around that island, some of the biggest fish are around there. They're all the spawning flats around that island. And I think once they're done spawning, they all migrate to that one stupid point, which may go missing next year. I don't know how, but
no, listen, community spot, it will always kick them out. They get there for a reason. Like you'll have to figure out how to make them bite, but it's the same way, dude. I can tell you.
And I have no problem with it, but it's just like you get into arguments like this, or you're gonna be fishing beside 5 people all the time, and you're not about going to find your own fish and having a spot to yourself. It's like, well, if they're there, I got to go there to compete, right? So that is what it is. I don't know how many other ways there's to explain it. I was fishing to win, and I wasn't trying to hole poach G like people saying, oh, he was in first place, so you just went and jumped on a spot. No, it's a spot I fished on day 2. It's a spot I fished in practice. It's a big stretch. There was 5 boats on it the first day. And I just tried to get a little corner where I know the fish are. On day 2, honestly, I was probably too nice because I'm like, you know what? He's catching them. I don't want to go over there, bug him, which is 100 feet away, by the way, which made me want to vomit watching it. And I'm like, just catch 2 and I can go to the lake.
On day 2 when they caught them.
Yeah, and it made me want to puke. And I'm just like, all right, just do your thing. Try and catch 2. I lost 1.6, and I could go to the lake and maybe get 25 to 28 pounds out there. And it just didn't happen. So I didn't want G to be in first place when I went there. That's for sure. I would have rather he was in 42nd and he caught all 3-pounders. But no matter what, I knew going into that tournament that day 3 and 4 were going to be win days. That's why I pre-fished for 3 hours in the river for day 3 and 4. I checked that spot. I cameroed it. There was hundreds of bass there. Like, it's just, that's where I practiced to fish on the win days. Unfortunately, it just happened to be that Robert G was there too.
Leading.
Yes, and it was unfortunate, but I was there to win the AOY and try and win the tournament. Did I want to fish right beside him? No. And people think, oh, you pulled right up on top of him. And I heard him say it before. He's like, he said it on a podcast. He's like, no, he didn't pull up right beside me. He was like 100 feet up in the middle of the break. And when I pulled up, he drifted down to me. Like I said before, I would have done the exact same thing. I wasn't mad about it. I wasn't mad that he was fishing there. And unfortunately, if Robert G had one more spot to go catch a couple fish, he probably would have won the tournament.
He told me, it was funny. I texted him after day 1, like, hell yeah, man, look at you, you know? And because he was bummed out after Champlain. And I just got to know Rob this year just a little bit through the show and stuff.
And he seems like a good guy. Like, people are like, oh, you must hate Rob.
Dude, man, but I'm not saying, and that's what I said last week. I was like, Rob's good dude, good family. So are the Johnsons, good dude, good family. Now I will say, dude, you guys are aggressive. Like, I know you are, but I think it is that. And I said that, I'm like, y'all are aggressive on the water, but
see, and that's where I think people get me a little mixed up, because I am the least aggressive person on the water. My brother is very aggressive, and people don't know the difference between
damn Corey. No,
that's, and so I had people that you know very well and who are very well respected text me and be like, wow, like, it's about time you grew a set and actually stood your ground. I'm like, and
I know exactly who you're talking about that probably text you.
There's a couple of them, to be honest, and ones I didn't even think of, and I'm not going to say their names on here.
Yeah.
But some of them are legendary fishermen. They're like, it's about time you grew a set and
oh my God,
did that. I'm
dude,
like,
that is amazing, because like, let's ban Corey. Forget forward face. Let's ban Corey.
he causes problems for me.
He does cause problems.
In ball hockey, whatever. But in saying that, in the morning,
poor Corey.
He's getting roasted. But in the morning, Dave Mercer's job is to get interaction, hype people up. So instead of him going and holding a mic to someone, it was a bad scenario to do it in. But he goes and holds a mic to someone and be like, hey, what are you going to do today? I'm going to go out, try and catch my 5 biggest bass, have a good day. He's like, and this has been happening all year for 2 years. He's like, let's hear you trash talk someone, like trash talk the competition. Let's make it interesting.
You know how that looked, right? Like,
that 100%.
Like you said, it was gas on the fire. There was 100%. Already fire burning. The internet's on fire. And then you got Canadian Dave.
Yeah, it was all wrong. That's
it was all. Yeah, you got to understand where it looked. No, I will say, the Canada versus America stuff did make me laugh. I was like, damn, this turned into a world war.
And if it had been like, sorry, I just gotta get a charger. If it had been a veteran on the spot. And maybe this is where I handled it wrong. If it had been like, saw someone post, if it was Lee Livesey on the spot, you wouldn't do that. No, I would have pulled up to Lee, said, Lee, how's it going, buddy? You know, I fished here many years ago, won the tournament. Or any of the veterans, do you mind if I fish it again? I need to fish here. They would have said, yeah, no problem. And maybe that's where I approached it wrong with G. But I really wasn't trying to be rude to him. Like, I pulled up 100 feet away. It's not far from where I fished the day before. But when people started taking pictures, we were side by side because the current pushed them down. And like I said, it looks bad from a picture, but it's If it was a veteran, they would have said, yeah, no problem. Fish here. You fished here many times.
What if it was Corey on the spot? Would you?
I would have fished it even harder. I would have went around him, fished the rest of the break, and tried to fish all the fresh fish.
Donuts around
and do donuts. And that's what G like is a big thing with fresh fish and anything, but smallmouth.
Yeah.
So G would fish beside me. We'd pressure the ones by me, and then he would drift off and go fish the ones that were unpressured further down the break. And then he'd catch those and come back to me, and he'd probably catch a few. I wasn't moving and going down the break trying to catch unpressured fish or beat him to that. There's sweet spots on it, beat it to him. I let him have as much as I possibly could. So
man,
that's it. And
I just love that Corey took a beating in all this.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why this turned into
he's got big shoulders. But it was just that whole, and people were like, oh, you were trying to intimidate G. Well, G doesn't hear any of that, just so you know, until after the tournament. He doesn't. That's like, you're not trying to scare him off from fishing on day 4 or intimidate him. It was the wrong timing, 100%, and it looked terrible. But it was not scaring G from fishing day 4.
A friend of mine talked to Corey last week, and he asked, like, is Luke mad at him? I was like, mad at you? What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, they were trying to make it
I'm not trying to fight Corey because, damn it, I'm not trying to throw hands with Corey. No, I wasn't mad at Corey.
And no one was trying to throw hands. Like, it is literally just trash talking. It happens in all sports. And I didn't even watch it that close, but I think he's laughing as he was doing it. And so was Dave, smiling. Like, it's not like anyone's trying to fight anyone. And it just gets blown out of proportion. And it was the worst timing for that interview that possibly ever could have been. Like,
I will say that.
Yeah, if it had been on another tournament, it probably would have been laughed about and people wouldn't care. But this one, not good.
Well, dude, let's move on. Let's talk about Angler of the Year, man.
One more thing. It didn't really click into me until a while ago. People were like talking about finding your own fish. And this other scenario pops into my mind. And it's in Knoxville, Fort Loudon, probably G's backyard. Gussie won Fort Loudon Tellico in the Narrows. No one was fishing near him. He figured out the whole narrow smallmouth deal. He blew it out of the water. He won the Bassmaster Elite, and I don't think anyone's even close to that tournament. 2 years later, fast forward, but it was put on live. Locals fished it. It was a community hole. Am I wrong?
It turned into one, for sure.
Yeah, we go to the Bassmaster Classic 2 years later. Well, none of the veterans fished his spot, and if any did, they got shamed. And there was one person that did, and they got roasted on live. And from all the other anglers, they got roasted. So, do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
So I'm like, how is this situation any different? And I'm not mad at anyone that fished the spot. I made it a community spot. But how is it any different that they're fishing a spot that they found through whatever, Bass Live, and then all of a sudden I can't fish it because I didn't start there day 1.
And I think there's another layer to this too, dude, where you guys have fished a ton of Toyotas, ton of local events, there have been other people. And I know there was a guy that won a Bassmaster Open off of it too.
Jody White. He won on a minnow on the exact same spot.
Yeah. And he covered you guys in a lot of tournaments, probably saw you there. You know what I mean? Like, learned it from you guys. And all the rookies that qualify for the Opens, through the Opens for the elites, they were in that event. They probably,
and
so
people learn. And like I said, I have no problem with people fishing it now. But how is it any different that Knoxville tournament to this one? Because
I'm with
it's not any different. But and to fast forward, to take it in one step further, how many veterans fished that spot? None. They all tried to go and find their own fish.
And dude, look, I'll say, like, on the FLW tour, where a guy's won before. I can remember back in the day. I can remember being at Champlain, and there's a place up in Missisquoi. There's a roadbed, and I think Scott Martin's won off of it twice.
Bar back
and
there,
like nobody even goes. It's like if you see somebody out there, it's Scott. You're like, it's his hole. It's where he catches them.
But like I said, I'm not mad that anyone fished it, but there was no other veterans that tried to fish that. And all I wanted was just a piece of the corner of a bar that's 150 yards long.
Do you think, because you grew up in a different time than where we're at now? I mean, you're a little younger than me, but this is something
I don't feel that young anymore. I got a lot of gray hairs to prove it.
Oh, I listen, this sport will do it to you, dude. But you guys, especially as successful as y'all have been, and so many pros, you do give up a lot to pursue this dream. And now with live, there are more and more hours of live coverage. Now everything's documented on YouTube. The younger generation has access to things we never had. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but how much more difficult do you think it's going to be to say, like, think about a Van Dam run. You know what I mean? Like the domination.
He had secrets for 5 years before.
Right. Will we ever see that again? Because everything's so wide open.
No, I really don't think so. And now they can even see our screens, what we're looking at. Like, there is zero secrets. They can see our baits, and they can put us on the map on the lake of where we're fishing. I don't like, and that's why I say the Lake Ontario in particular, for me, it gets harder every year because I literally am running out of secrets. So it's the same on any lake. It's the same for all the locals. Like, I don't know how you have any secrets unless we haven't been to a lake yet.
Well, I think you guys now, especially the St. Lawrence, you're getting a dose of what we've been getting on Pickwick and the, Gunnersvilles of the world, because they just have so many damn tournaments there. Yeah. And dude, it breaks my heart truly, not to be all Randy Blockett about it, but those smallmouth do not get a break anymore. No. From the time the season opens, there's a damn tournament there. Look, like, you guys are there. BPT was there. Then you guys are there. Then the Toyota Series, and there's probably something there this week.
And there's a big local tournament in a week and a half. I'm like, and it's river only. And guess where it's going to be won, Luke?
Yeah.
And it drives all the anglers crazy because there'll be 8 guys there. The one guy that drifts it and catches 5 big ones will win.
Figures out the right drift.
Yes.
Over it, catches them.
But it's 100%. It is getting so much pressure, and I hate to see it too, because it really was a gem, and got exposed, and I don't know how many years it can keep kicking them out. Like, I think
it was the most special bass fishery in the world for a very long time. Like, I've been twice fun fishing. I've never fished a tournament there. It's incredible, man. The river's incredible. The lake's incredible. Like, it's an amazing place. It's a beautiful place. We don't have a lot of those left. We really don't, that are just untapped. I mean, I know you probably got some sneaky.
Well, to be honest, there is a lake that I can think of where they're weighing 25 to 28 pounds. It's a big lake. It's what Lake Ontario was 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
It's on the Canadian only lake though, but but that's what people that are fishing are like. It's what it used to be. You could throw at 10 fish and you'll catch 8 of them off of a rock.
I need to go there. I'll text you for a waypoint.
It'll get your confidence up. That's for sure.
And we don't have that in the South anymore. I don't think though. You know what I mean? Like, everything is, and I love tournaments. Obviously, I make a lot of I pay my mortgage through commentating tournaments and being around the tournament world. I love it. I'm not talking about tournaments in a bad light, but damn, man, some of these fisheries need a break.
And I'm 100%. I've thought about it to myself, to be honest. I never even told him about this, but I'm thinking, like, if the St. Lawrence River would say, hey, we're going to do 2 permits this year for big tournaments, and the Canadian side did 2 permits or whatever, and 200 boats go fishing, but that's it. There's 2 big tournaments.
Awesome.
I don't know why people would complain about it. People can still guide, enjoy the fishery. It doesn't get hammered like it is right now.
Will it be on the schedule again next year, do you think?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I have no idea what the schedule is, but I heard people talking, and they said that they've heard the schedule, and they've heard that we're not going there for once.
Well, it's been, I mean, I don't even remember how many
years.
Since
I started the Elite Series.
Which was what, 19?
19, I believe. We've gone there every year.
Yeah, because you left us, and I mean, we weren't sad to see either of you suckers go. And Gussie, get out of the FLW tour. That was my last year fishing. I should have hung around.
Was it?
Left. Yeah, but 19 was the last year.
Those were the good old days. There was no stress. There was no one arguing. Well, we got the tail end of the arguing, but those were just.
I mean, what year did you guys start? The tour.
I did it for 4 years, so 2015,
I was gonna say
2016.
15. I think you guys. I fished co-angler in 15, and then moved to the front in 16. And I know you guys were fishing in 16, but I think you were there the year before. Pretty sure
Yeah.
y'all were both there the year before.
No,
that.
those were the good old days.
Dude, I talk about it with so many of my friends. You don't realize, like, there is a saying, like, you don't realize the good times are actually happening, right? Like when you're living them. But dude,
Yeah.
those years were, I mean, that was really kind of the beginning of the end of.
Yeah, and
Think about there was no drama then. I don't
and it
feel like
wasn't
not much.
stressful. You weren't tippy toeing around, trying not to offend someone. You just went fishing and had fun and hang out with the guys afterwards.
Yeah,
and hope you got paid.
Yeah, and you guys got paid a lot, all the damn time. I feel like. Did you ever feel like, so 9-event season? Obviously, McKinney was leading the thing. Then he has, a couple of rule infractions. Has the thing at Smith Lake, knocks him back. Did you ever, like, at any point during the year, was angler of the year? I mean, it's everybody's goal right before the season starts. But was there ever a point during the season where you're like, this is my goal, or this is my focus, I've really got a chance at AOY? Or was it really like St. Lawrence and Champlain, St. Lawrence?
No, I was kind of just in the thick of it all year, thinking like I got a chance, especially going into Wheeler. I'm like, I need to get through the 2 Alabama ones. I'm like, if I can get through the 2 Alabama ones, I think I got a good shot at it. Because eventually one of them, rookies, it was McKinney or Hamner, they got to mess up one of these times because they like literally kept catching them. Like they're going to have a bad one.
Like they're invincible.
Yeah. But, and then Wheeler, I had my worst finish of the year. I think I was like a 63rd. And I was like, "Ooh, that one could have done it. Like that could knock me out of the AOY race." And I was kind of pretty disappointed in that one.
So that was your worst finish of the year, as a 63rd.
Yeah,
no check
and
there, Wheeler.
That one
Wheeler can do that to you for sure.
What's that?
I said it can do that too. It can throw you a curve.
Oh yeah, and I just, to be honest, on Wheeler, I kind of just figured them out at the end of the day. I was throwing a drop shot at stumps and throwing like finesse baits. And I kept catching 14 inches. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I saw a stump with no fish on him, and I threw a jerk bait over it. And a giant come up and chased it. I'm like, oh my God, he didn't eat it. Well, the next stump I came to, this is a stretch that I fished probably 10 times throughout the tournament. And I hadn't got a big fish. I caught one in practice on a drop shot. Next stump I threw to, I had literally 3 minutes until I had to pull the trolling motor up. I caught a 4.5, my biggest one in the tournament. I got in the boat. I don't even know if I called the right fish. I threw it out. I'm like, if I just had 30 more minutes to throw that jerk bait in that area. So, but that's how close it comes. If I didn't catch that 4.5 with 3 minutes left, I probably would have finished in like 80 something or worse. So, but that's how close it comes down to for AOY, just little decisions like that. But I really thought I was out of it after that tournament, and I had decent Smith, but McKinney and Hamner kept catching them. So I was like, I don't know if they're going to slip up. And then McKinney, who had the big lead, his mom called him.
Which is the most, like, if you're a 19-year-old rookie, like, it is funny. If you get DQ'd because your mom calls, like, you might not deserve to win Angler of the Year.
You can't help but laugh. Yeah. So thank you, McKinney's mom. Because then all of a sudden I'm like, I got a little hope again.
Thanks. Shout out Trey's mom.
Yeah. So
everybody had hope again after that, because he did have such an insurmountable lead that it took that. But dude, and I've seen people defending that shouldn't have been a DQ. That, well, okay. He broke a damn rule. It's a damn rule.
It's a stupid mistake, but unfortunately, it's a rule that if someone says, "Hey, you're late. You better get to check in." You can't get that sort of info.
No, that's right. Yeah, hurry up. Where are you at, little boy? Yeah. Come up here. I was really surprised that Hamner slipped at the St. Lawrence, just because dude, he won the Classic. He's been on a freaking tear all year, and I was surprised that he had a difficult tournament there.
So the only thing I was hoping going into the St. Lawrence, actually, when I saw the forecast, was like, I think I have a good chance at this, because all these guys are practicing the lake, because we only had 2 days. And in my mind, the weather has not changed. In the back of my mind, I'm like, you're not getting to the lake on day 3 and 4. So if I can just stay in contention and fish this stupid green can on day 3 and 4 and get my 23, 24 pounds, then I don't know like how these other guys who don't have a lot of experience in the river are going to go catch them, because they put all their eggs in one basket. And I actually laughed. Fouts was leading AOY going into day 3, and Mercer did his morning interview on the water on the mic, and he's like, I'm sending it to the lake. I kind of chuckled on day 3, and there's 30-mile-an-hour winds, and I don't think he's been on Lake Ontario on 30-mile-an-hour winds. And I was fishing near the mouth, and like an hour later, I see boats coming back in the river.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was chuckling. I'm like, that's not good for him, because he was running, and then I saw him 4 or 5 times running, and yeah, that actually helped me the wind day. That St. Lawrence wind, it 100% helped, and that's just knowing that, hey, you can't get out there on that wind.
How that's a great behind the scenes story of like you see him coming back in and you're like, okay,
I had like 23, 24 pounds, and I was kind of like, this is a good sign,
because Jacob had a rough day, like 14 pounds or something, like had a rough day that day. Yeah.
And actually, in saying that, while I was on that spot by the green can, I've only caught, I think I heard G say, oh, he roasted them. He caught like 25 pounders. That's not true. I caught five pluses. The last one I called was a 4.5. And then I just started messing around, throwing stupid baits. I wasn't even catching anything. And G left, and I wanted to leave too, because I was done fishing. And I looked back, and Fouts was actually behind us like 200 yards, just fishing the flat.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, ooh, I can't let him up here. So I'm like, I got to sit here. And I'm kind of watching the clock, and I didn't want to have to run 70 miles an hour for an hour and a half. I was planning on going like 50, cruising back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And no one would be here. So I'm like, I got to sit here. And I fished around. He was kind of getting closer. He wasn't coming on the spot or anything, but I'm like, I got to sit here. And he like was behind me. So I just kind of eased back up to the break. I hadn't fished. And I'm like, I had a stupid minnow on that I've never used in my life. I'm like, I'll throw it up there. I threw it up there, one cast, I caught a 5, and there was like 15 with it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm not casting again, because I just wasted a 5-pounder. And so I was like, I threw it back, and then I just sat there and waited. Folks pulled it up. And as soon as he pulled it up and left, I pulled up and left. And there was hundreds of fish.
Strategy, man.
And it all comes into it. I'm like, yeah. So.
Well, you talk a lot about forward facing. Obviously, you're fantastic with it, but
I still think I'm learning at it. I laugh when people call me a scoper. Like,
well, yeah, I see people call you that, and I know you're very much not. Like, you're one of the best grass fishermen I've ever been around. You're definitely the best sight fisherman. Other than it's like you, your brother, and John Cox are like way up there with.
And the Cooks the Drews are up there.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, oh yeah, the Drews for sure. But this year they had a no forward facing sonar tournament. I actually signed up and had something come up, wasn't able to go fish it because it sounded like a lot of fun. No graphs, basically, no live scope. You won that thing.
And there was no politics either at the tournament.
Yeah, it was just fun, right? Like,
yeah, it was fun.
So do you think, and I know you've been a Garmin guy for a long time, long time. One of the first pro staff guys I remember, but where do you think it's headed? Do you think we'll see some bans? Do you want to see a ban? Do you want to see limitations?
I am not going to jump in and say I want it or I don't.
Yeah.
Just because there's too many politics. I don't want to touch it. But I feel like it's almost too far gone to take it away. That's just my opinion. And it is what it is. Whether I want it or I don't, I just feel like it's out there now. And
we let the cat out of the bag, right? Like we pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And my opinion is if you ban it, if you're a tournament trail that bans it and a state doesn't ban it, and other tournament trails don't ban it, you're just putting your anglers at a severe disadvantage to send them to a lake where the fish just get fished for with it all the time. Like, and the rates are going to be low. That
is one of the things I worry about. You hit the nail on the head. If you go to a lake that has been pressured and because of live scope, and you go with no live scope, it's going to be 10 times tougher than it was 10 years ago.
It's
in
hard
my
enough.
opinion.
It's hard enough to catch them with it a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine trying to catch offshore fish without having that tool. And I think that we're going to see somebody's going to ban it. We're going to see some limitations, I think. But yeah, man, I'm not for bans. I've said that on this show already. I've said it many times on here. I'm not for a ban. And like I said, we took the monster out of the box. And a lot of the guys that are so against it now are some of the guys that were the first ones I saw promoting it. So that's what's weird for me. I'm just like, well, dude, 6 years ago, you told me I needed it.
Yeah.
You better get this, Luke. And now you're
it's 100% changed things. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I kind of like the idea of, for the Elite Series, you could pick and choose your tournaments.
That'd be cool.
What are going to have live and what aren't. But there's 50% want it, 50 that don't. Okay, let's do 50 have it, 50 don't, and the AOY better be able to catch them both ways.
No doubt.
And it'll show the most adverse anglers on the tour.
No doubt, man.
I don't know that that'll happen either. So if they tell me I can have it, great. If not, I'm still going fishing regardless and putting her head down and going at it.
Yeah, I like the hybridized idea. I asked on the show, had a lot of low lifers that listened, voted that I said A was a limitation, B was hybridized, and C was a ban. And I had way more votes for a hybridized situation like that than anything, because I think people have accepted it. The squeaky wheels always are the loudest, right? So I think you do have a lot of people
it would keep people quiet on both sides. And
that's right.
There'd be no more bickering.
I don't know. Chris, buddy, I was going to say, I don't know how much you've been on Facebook, but they're going to find something to bicker about. I don't know if they're bickering in Canada, but they bicker plenty here.
I stay off social media, especially last week. I'm like, this is some of the dumbest things I've ever read. I also read somewhere, I don't even know where, but someone said that, oh, this happened before when Corey won on the St. John's and I was defending him or something. I was like, are you kidding me? They said I was running interference on Matt Airy. I'm like, I was talking to Matt Airy fishing. We were having a great time catching bedded fish. I'm like, where do people cook this stuff up?
Just invent it.
It blows my mind.
They just invent it. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on. Let's end it with this. I've seen a lot of comments about Derby Boys. When will the next Derby Boys episode happen? With you, Maddie Robertson, Seth, and
it's a mess right from the get-go. And unfortunately, there's someone recording all of it. But we had a little hiccup. It was supposed to be released a while ago with the production guy. He now has the episodes out to Matt, and they're ready to be released. There's 2 or 3 ready, and Matt is now locked out of his account. He got hacked. So it's always something. But there's like 2 or 3 episodes ready to go. When Matt gets back into his account, whoever hacked it, please give it back, and we will release the next Derby Boys.
It's the most Matt Robertson thing ever.
I know. We're all a mess. So it should be entertaining. They got some great footage, and hopefully they can air all of it. And it should be entertaining.
Okay, I saw like right when you came on, there were a lot of people like, most important question, when's Derby Boys? Derby Boys, Derby Boys. So I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it, man. And I like that behind the scenes stuff. That's always great, man.
That's what we're trying to do. Like, you can only film a hook set so many different ways, and it's like people want to know what happens behind the scenes. Like, for example, with this podcast, like people want to know the real story of what happened, and like that's the stuff that gets views and stuff. So we're hoping to make it entertaining and show what happens behind the scenes in Elite Series.
Yeah, man, you can only show so many Palomar knots being tied and how to rig a Texas rig up, you know?
Yeah. So if it takes off, we might even do some like off the wall hunt trips or something. And
that'd be
get the cabin life. And there's no end to what we can do if we can actually get an episode uploaded on YouTube.
I love it, man. Well, dude, again, I appreciate you reaching out. I know we messaged back and forth about it. Appreciate you coming on. And dude, just congratulations on Angler of the Year. That's something that, I mean, every bass fisherman, if you fish competitively, knows how hard that title is to win. And it's a hell of an accomplishment, man. First Canadian too. I've seen that in the comments. I know
I appreciate that. Thank you, buddy. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely,
and,
man.
If you ever have anything, just feel free to reach out to me.
No doubt, dude. Chris Johnston, everybody coming in from Canada right there. Thank you, buddy. Right there, Chris Johnston. It's a good dude right there. Absolutely appreciate that, man. I appreciate the conversation. Y'all busting him in the comments. I think everybody's got a chance to give their side of a story if they want to, and I think that it takes balls. I do. I think it takes guts. And I want to point out anybody, because people like to clip shows and say things. I'm giving Corey Johnston crap. I like giving Corey a hard time. He likes giving people a hard time, and so I like Corey Johnston. I want to say that before somebody clips and goes, "Man, he was burning Corey down on this show." I like to give him a hard time. So, and he and Chris are super competitive dudes with each other too. I've seen that they like to give each other a hard time. Appreciate you guys. Close the borders. They're taking our trophies. Rich coming in hot right there. Hella Bass. What's up, buddy? If Trey's mom doesn't call next year, is there a way he doesn't win AOY? I don't know. I don't know. Trey is certainly a talented young angler. He made some mistakes this year. I'm sure he is going to be a problem for many years to come out there on the elites. Trey getting a pager. He got to stay in the gray area. That's a good comment. I like that. Trey's getting a pager. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in each and every week. This was a fun one, man. I appreciate again Chris coming on, all you low lifers for showing up. We had a good crowd tonight. It was a lot of fun. We'll do it again soon. The next live will be Duncan Butts episode 3 will be the goal there for sure to do that. And we'll take you out with some interview Trey's mom's next. Hard pass on that. I'm going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues, and I'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all.
Spanish moss, a Civil War ghost. Well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest.